I am informed by the Commissioner of Police that the number of vessels transiting in our waters has increased by approximately 60% between 2020 and 2025. In fact, from January to June of this year, maritime traffic has further increased by 5.7%, with a peak of 3,210 vessels transits recorded in May. This increase in marine traffic in our waters may be attributed to the recent disruptions to international shipping routes due to the war in the Middle East and the greater use of the Cape of Good Hope route. This situation represents a heightened risk of maritime accidents which may result in oil spills in our region. Mr. Deputy Speaker, following the MV Wakashu oil spill disaster in August 2020, the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan of 2003 was reviewed in 2005 and approved by government in March this year. In the same vein, instructions have been given for the review of the Rodrigues Oil Spill Contingency Plan, and consultation has already started at the level of my ministry in 2024 with the Rodrigues Regional Assembly. The National Oil Spill Contingency Plan 2025 is the national framework for preparedness for and response to oil spills incidents throughout the exclusive economic zone of our Republic, including Rodrigues. The plan makes provision for the setting up of an organizational structure and necessary operational procedures to ensure a prompt and coordinated response by all relevant stakeholders. It adopts a new tiered response whereby the environmental sensitivity of an affected area and the severity of impact in case of an oil spill are taken into consideration. The plan also makes provision for pre-spill baseline data and post-spill survey to support claims for compensation against damages to the marine ecosystem. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in addition to the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan 2025, I'm informed that there is a specific Rodrigues Oil Spill Contingency Plan dating back to 2009, which must be updated and made fully operational. I'm further informed that an oil spill contingency planning and response for Rodrigues, including the custody, maintenance, and deployment of the oil spill response equipment available on the island, currently fall under the responsibility of the Commission for Environment in accordance with the Section 124 of the Environment Act 2024. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in the aftermath of the MV Wakashu oil spill disaster in 2020, my ministry has taken several measures to reinforce oil spill preparedness and response in Mauritius and Rodrigues. First, with the assistance of the Agence Française de Développement in 2021, my ministry prepared the following in respect of both Mauritius and Rodrigues. 1, an inventory and assessment of oil spill response equipment. 2, an oil spill waste management plan. 3, an oil spill volunteer management plan. And 4, an environmental and socio-economic impact assessment framework. Second, an international maritime organization level. 1 training course was held in Rodrigues from 15 to 19 January 2024. 41 officials from various departments of Rodrigues Regional Assembly attended the course and obtained Level 1 certification. The program sensitized local stakeholders on the 10 existing national oil spill contingency plan, provided tactical first responder training, included desktop and equipment deployment exercises, and strengthened the capacity of officers of the National Coast Guard, Mauritius Port Authority, and Mauritius Fire and Rescue Services in equipment maintenance. Third, in July 2025, my ministry, in collaboration with the Rodrigues Regional Assembly, finalized a coastal sensitivity atlas and technical and operational maps for Rodrigues. These tools identify shoreline types, environmentally sensitive areas, and the potential effects of an oil spill, and guide the protection and cleanup strategies to be adopted during an incident. Capacity building was also provided to the concerned stakeholders on their use. Fourth, 7 officers from Rodrigues had attended an International Maritime Organization Level 1 training course organized under the Japan International Cooperation Agency Technical Assistance Program in Mauritius from 23rd to 26 April 2026. Mr. Deputy Speaker, to further strengthen Rodrigues' preparedness, officers of my ministry, with the support of the National Coast Guard and the Special Mobile Force, will undertake a technical visit to Rodrigues from 29 July to 8th of August 2026, under the lead of the Director of Environment. The mission will, 1, review the Rodrigo Oil Spill Contingency Plan to align it with the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan 2025, 2, develop a standard operating procedure in the event of an oil spill, 3, audit of available oil spill combat equipment and identify further equipment requirements for the rigs, and 4, provide international maritime organization level 0 training to around 100 members of civil society and non-technical government staff, including non-governmental organizations, fishers, village councillors, women's associations, youth, private sector, and media representatives. The training will include theoretical sessions, field exercises, and a tabletop simulation exercise in respect of an oil spill. Mr. Deputy Speaker, furthermore, I am informed that the Mauritius Port Authority launched a bidding exercise on the 11th of May 2026 for the acquisition of dedicated oil spill response equipment for Mature. However, the bidding exercise was unsuccessful. In the meantime, the Mauritius Port Authority is considering relocating part of its existing oil spill response assets from Portrush to Mature to provide a minimum immediate response capability thereat. This measure would complement the equipment already available under the custody of the Chief Commissioner's Office.
Yes. Thank you, Honourable Minister. May I ask the Honourable Minister, with regards to existing equipment thereat, do you have a list that you can circulate or table?
We are getting the list and we'll circulate it to the House and all members.
Okay. The Honourable Third Member for Pamplemousse Trioli.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. B1174.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I thank the Honourable Member for this question. Let me remind the House that last year, in the annex to the budget, speech 2025-26, it was announced that the Financial Services Commission would review its annual license fees to reflect evolving market conditions. It is also important to recall that the FSC had not reviewed its processing fees since the year 2008, that is 19 years ago, whilst the licensing fees were last adjusted in 2019, that is 7 years ago. So during that period, FSC has absorbed the rising operational costs, inflationary pressures, and significantly expanded international compliance obligations with heightened supervisory demands. As regards part A of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed that the FSC has consulted with the Ministry of Finance, with Mauritius Finance, with industry stakeholders, and with my ministry. And the FSC was advised by my ministry that international benchmarking should be done to ensure that the MIFC remains internationally competitive in terms of cost of doing business. I am informed that a benchmarking exercise was indeed undertaken by the FSC against competing jurisdictions such as Singapore, Rwanda, India, Gibraltar, Luxembourg, UK, Cayman Islands, Cyprus, South Africa, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Hong Kong, Isle of Man, Bahamas, Bermuda, and Guernsey. The benchmarking exercise has shown that in most cases, Mauritius remains by and large a competitive jurisdiction. And I'm tabling a sample from the benchmarking exercise that has been carried out by the FSC. I am informed, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that overall in the new fee structure, the processing and/or annual fees of 33 licenses have been reduced, and the processing and annual fees for 83 and 87 licenses respectively have remained unchanged to promote growth of these sectors. On the other hand, 25 out of 145 types of licenses saw an increase in the processing fee and or the annual fee. And out of these 25 licenses, 24 have increased within the range of 10 to 40%, while there is one license for which the processing and licensing fee has increased by 300%, namely for authorized companies. For this category, of license, the annual fee has increased from USD 350 to USD 1,400, and the processing fee has increased from USD 150 to USD $600. With regard to Part B of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, following the budget speech, Mauritius Finance, which is the industry association, asked for a meeting with me, and indeed I met 6 representatives of the organization on the 2nd of July 2026. They had a number of concerns with regards to certain measures that were announced in the budget, and also some concerns regarding the increase of the fees by the FSC. I explained to them that while we were very sensitive at the ministry with regarding the cost of doing business, which is one of the main pillars of our strategy report, that government and Ministry of Finance had their own imperative, and that we will do our best to see how certain measures can be mitigated. However, it has been noted that there were public commentary and outcry to the effect that there has been an unreasonable increase in the cost of doing business, especially highlighting the isolated case of the increase in fees of authorized companies. And while these differing views from stakeholders forms part of a healthy consultation process, the public narrative wherein some of our own operators are criticizing the sector and the jurisdiction in the press and the social media, it can cause harm to our global reputation. It risks creating a misperception that the jurisdiction's only attractive feature rests on low cost or competitive costs rather than on high quality of service and regulatory compliance. Public narratives portraying Mauritius as losing competitiveness purely on the account of the license fee of one product out of 145 products may inadvertently undermine the image of the IFC ecosystem. I am also informed by the Commission that the Commission has emphasized that the targeted adjustment reflects the complex cross-border nature and higher inherent risk profile of these entities called authorized companies, as they operate with significant international exposure requiring more intensive risk-based supervision. Aligning processing and annual fees with the supervisory effort required supports the effective implementation of international standards set by international standard bodies such as the recommendations of FATF. And however, if we wish to compare fees being charged by the different jurisdictions, the total cost of doing business is a more realistic parameter instead of just the regulator's license fee. And I further wish to point out, as mentioned, ACs are strategic structuring vehicles that support wealth, private wealth, investment holding, and cross-border group structures. To this effect, an increase in the USD of about $1,050 should not have a considerable impact, particularly given the fact that the cost of relocation to the above-mentioned jurisdiction is likely to outweigh the additional fee charge, and therefore an exodus of ACs moving to any jurisdiction is an unlikely scenario. Mr. Deputy Speaker, my ministry has been informed that FSC will continue in engaging closely with relevant industry stakeholders to ensure that the jurisdiction remains both competitive and reputable while preserving the strategic interests of the sector and the country. And let me reassure the House that the government remains committed to maintaining Mauritius as a competitive and reputable IFC while ensuring that the regulatory framework remains aligned with evolving market conditions and international standards. Thank you.
You have one supplementary.
Thank you, Monsieur le Ministre.
Try to be brief with the reply to the supplementary, please.
Est-ce que l'honorable ministre pourrait informer la Chambre si son ministère a considéré la possibilité que notre juridiction perde les authorized companies en faveur des Seychelles et quel serait l'impact sur les acteurs économiques dans ce secteur?
Indeed, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, there have been reports that there is a risk of exodus of our authorized companies to Seychelles. In fact, there is some misconception about the international business companies, the IBCs, which are being compared to the authorized company. The IBC in Seychelles is not regulated by the Financial Services Authority. It is only registered with the FSA. That is, the company has a legal existence, but it is not undergoing any oversight, compliance, or obligations and licensing fees. If an IBC goes into a regulated activity, then they require another license. From what my assessment and what the ministry's and FSC's assessment is that this one isolated case of companies moving to Seychelles is quite exaggerated, and but we will continue monitoring the situation. But as of now, there is not major concern.
The Honourable Third Member for Rivière-des-Anguilles-Souillac.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, B 1175, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed that officers of my ministry, namely those from the Infection Prevention and Control Unit, the Public Health Inspectorate, the Vector Biology and Control Division, and the Rodent Control Unit, carry out regular inspections in all the public health institutions, including Ward C12 of Victoria Hospital, to monitor environmental and hygienic conditions. I wish to highlight that Ward C12 is located in an old standalone building within the Princess Margaret Orthopedic Center at Victoria Hospital, which was inaugurated back in 1956. The ward is surrounded by open grassy areas and is regularly cleaned and maintained. With regard to party of the question, targeted inspections of Ward C12 was carried out on 19th March 2025, 18th April 2025 by officers of the Public Health Inspectorate together with officers of the Vector Biology and Control Division in response to a bed bug infestation. The inspections revealed no evidence of rat infestation or the presence of pigeons within the wards. Following the admission of a notified case of leptospirosis, Ward C12 was inspected again on 30th April 2026. No evidence of rat or bed bug infestation was detected and no birds were observed within the ward. A further joint inspection was carried out on 23rd July 2026 by officers of the Public Health Services and the Rodent Control Unit in the presence of ward manager. It was observed that the adjoining yard had been properly cleaned and maintained and that a refuse receptacle fitted with a closed fitting cover was available near the scullery. No bird resting places, rat burrows, rat droppings or any other sign of rodent infestation were found in Ward C12 or the adjoining wards. As part of the routine rodent control program at Victoria Hospital, regular baiting and surveillance are undertaken at strategic locations, including the vicinity of Ward C12. During one routine operation, one dead rat was recovered in the yard adjoining the ward. However, no evidence of rodent infestation within the ward was identified. According to the ward manager, pigeons may occasionally enter the ward through open windows. As stated above, there is no nesting area in Ward 12. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, my ministry continues to implement the necessary measures to maintain appropriate hygienic conditions and ensure a safe environment for patients, staff, and visitors. These measures include regular inspections, routine environmental cleaning, proper waste management, continuous rodent surveillance, and control through the strategic placement of rat bait and glue traps, and regular monitoring of the ward and its surroundings. In addition, it is proposed to further strengthen bird and rodent prevention measures through the installation of bird netting at windows and other openings, the fitting of self-closing devices on the external access doors of Ward C12 to minimize the risk of rodent entry, and the installation of bird deterrent devices, including reflective deterrents or bird breezers on the roof of Ward C12 and nearby buildings. My ministry will continue to monitor the situation closely and implement such additional measures as may be necessary to maintain appropriate standards of hygiene and ensure a safe environment for patients, staff, and visitors at Victoria Hospital.
Okay, thank you. The Honourable Second Member for Shavan Black River.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B1176, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The Ministry attaches great importance to the production and consumption of local fruits and vegetables in line with its policy of produce what we eat and eat what we produce. Now, with regards to Part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that my Ministry is already implementing a program for the production and distribution of seedlings to targeted beneficiaries, namely vulnerable families, school children, and community groups. These programs are aimed at sensitizing the public and promoting the cultivation and consumption of locally produced food. The Ministry has, in fact, started the provision, free of charge, of fruit plants and vegetable seedlings to educational institutions for youth in agricultural projects, as well as to other ministries and government institutions for the initiative such as Environment Day, blood donation activities, health awareness campaign, amongst others. In this respect, a total of 2,201 fruit plants were distributed for period July 2025 to June 2026. I'm further informed that during the financial year 2025-2026, 43,000 fruit trees comprising mango, lychee, banana, pawpaw, citrus, and avocado were sold to the public for backyard cultivation and to planters. These planting materials are provided to the farming community and the public at highly subsidized prices. Furthermore, in the budget 2026-2027, an initial budget of 2 million rupees has been provided for development of household micro gardens on a pilot basis to be implemented by Food Agricultural Research Extension Institute. Under this initiative, at least 1,000 families will be provided with the necessary tools and equipment to establish household gardens, thereby promoting local production and strengthening food resilience. As regards local authorities, I wish to inform the House that for the financial year 2026-2027, provision has been made for the production and free distribution of 10,000 potted plants to members of the community. So my ministry plans to at least double the number for financial year 2027-2028 with a view to enhancing food security. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as regards Part B of the question, the House may wish to note that there is already in place a targeted production quota system for potatoes and onions with a view to improving food security and maintaining affordable prices for customers. The Ministry is currently working on extending the targeted production quota system to other vegetable crops such as carrot, beans, and pumpkins. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in line with 25/35 Food Security Initiative announced in the budget this year, the Ministry has started working on a production planning mechanism based on coordinated crop calendars, market intelligence, digital tools, and the active participation of farmers to better align domestic production with domestic demand and reduce our vulnerability to climate-related events and disruption in global freight and supply chain. The production planning mechanism will constitute a key component of the food security program currently being developed by the Ministry, with particular emphasis on coordinated production planning, market intelligence, and contract farming. It marks a strategic shift towards a more integrated, market-oriented, and climate-resilient agricultural sector, which aims to boost domestic production, reduce reliance on imports, and drive the modernization of the agricultural sector. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the Ministry is closely monitoring production, market requirements, and import trends for vegetables and fruits. This aims at ensuring adequate supply, avoiding shortages and excessive market surpluses, and supporting the availability of local produce at reasonable prices. Thank you, sir.
The Honourable Third Member for Grand-Pé-Boutour.
Merci, Monsieur le Président de la session d'aujourd'hui. Ça va chauffer avec la question B111-77.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm informed that the CEB has launched 2 schemes for the development of agri-voltaic projects in July 2024 and December 2025. Under the CEB Agrivoltaic Scheme 1, launched in July 2024, 136 applications have been received for a cumulative electricity capacity of 49.8 megawatt. None of these applications were implemented in 2024. Under the second CEB Agrivoltaic Scheme, launched in December 2025, 52 applications have been received, representing a cumulative capacity of 140.9 megawatt, which is 3 times more since the coming in office of his government. With regards to Part A, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of the question, I wish to inform the House that while there is no application for land conversion permits in respect to agro-solar projects currently at the Ministry, a fast-track mechanism has been put in place by the Ministry to process land conversion permits for agrivoltaic projects within 15 days. This has been achieved through close consultations with the Ministry of Energy and Public Utilities and other stakeholders, underscoring our commitment to efficiency and responsiveness. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am informed that under the CEB Agrivoltaic Scheme 1, 60 letters of intent have been issued throughout the year 2025, out of which 25 connections agreements were signed in 2025 and 2026, representing a cumulative capacity of only 10 megawatt. The remaining 35 applications are still in the process at the CEB. Under the CEB Agrivoltaic Scheme 2, 35 letters of intent have been issued, mostly in February 2026, representing a capacity of 1.5 megawatt. To date, 26 connection agreements have been signed, all in March 2026, with 9 applications progressing steadily. I wish to emphasize that these applications are yet to be referred, the 9, to my Ministry for Land Conversion Permit. With regard to Part B, Mr. Deputy Speaker, applications for agro-solar projects are only considered on land classified as having low to moderate agricultural potential, in line with the land suitability map prepared by MCI. To safeguard agricultural production, applicants are required to plough back into agricultural use an extent equivalent to 50% of the area requested for conversion as provided under the Sugar Industry Efficiency Act. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, government has also ensured that investors benefit from targeted incentives. All solar energy projects are exempted from land conversion tax. In addition, the CEB offers premium feed-in tariff, 5 rupees per kilowatt hour under agri-voltaic scheme, and 6 rupees 21 per kilowatt hour under agrivoltaic scheme 2, which integrates battery energy storage system. These tariffs are significantly higher than that of 4 rupees 20 per kilowatt hour offered under other solar schemes, thereby encouraging investment in advanced energy solutions and battery storage. The measures taken by the Ministry and the Government reflect a balanced approach, promoting renewable energy, safeguarding agricultural land, and ensuring food security. The strong response to the agrivoltaic scheme demonstrates confidence in our vision of a sustainable, resilient, and fast-looking agro-industry sector.
The Honourable First Member for Portage Maritime, vote received.
B1178.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with your permission, I shall reply to both parliamentary questions B1178 and B1187 together as they relate the same subject matter, and I am tabling all relevant documents, clearances, notices, and conditions applied by all competent authorities. With regard to Part A of the questions, I am informed that the Municipal Council of Carterbourne received 3 Building and Land Use Permit, that is BLUP, applications on 10th October 2025 and 5th December 2025 from AMS Properties Limited for the setting up of an amusement park at Rebecca Central, Triano, Carterbourne on the National Electronic Licensing System, that is NELS. These applications were automatically set aside due to incomplete information. The promoter subsequently submitted a third application on 10th February 2026 with all the required information. According to the plan submitted by the promoter, the project would comprise 3 amusement rides, a stormwater drainage system, a wastewater disposal system, as well as food trucks, toilets, ticket office, and control rooms, all of which would occupy an area of 1,123 square meters. During the processing of the BLUP application, clearances were favorably obtained from the Central Water Authority, Central Electricity Board, and the Wastewater Management Authority. Taking into consideration safety norms, as well as the potential traffic impact that such a development would have on the existing amenities, the Municipal Council has also sought the views of the Ministry of National Infrastructure, the Ministry of Labour and Industrial Relations, the Road Development Authority, and the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed that the Mechanical Engineering section of the Ministry of National Infrastructure reported that it did not have the necessary expertise to carry out the assessment of such structures and advised that the consultant of the promoter would have to take full reliability for any mechanical design of the proposed structures. On the other part, the Ministry of Labour and Industrial Relations informed that in line with provisions of the Occupational Safety and Health Act 2005 and the relevant regulations, the promoter should ensure that the safety of health of workers involved in the installation of amusement parks rides. It further indicated that its National Occupational Safety and Health Department did not have any norms in place regarding the equipment to be utilized. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, upon submission of amendment plans and additional documents by the applicant, the application was approved by the Permits and Business Monitoring Committee of the Council at its sitting on 18 March 2026, subject to general as well as special conditions being strictly adhered to. As per one of the general conditions of the BLUP, an occupation certificate has to be obtained prior to the start of economic activities. Since the promoter started his activities without obtaining this certificate, the Planning Inspectorate carried out a site visit on 23rd July 2026, whereby it was noted that, first, the setting up of the amusement parks rides were not in line with the approved plans. Second, 2 additional amusement rides had been put up on site and same were not part of the building and land use permit issued. Third, a covered podium had been set up on the site next to the fun park to hold musical performance and 2 generators. And fourth, over and above the four containers that had been approved in the BLUP for use as toilet blocks, ticket booths, and food trucks, 7 additional containers had been put on site for the setting up of 1 security post, 3 CCTV chambers, and additional tickets booths, and 2 additional food trucks. Taking into account the non-compliance with the BLUP issued, the Municipal Council caused an enforcement notice to be served on 23rd July 2026 upon the developer, namely AMS Properties Limited, requiring it to stop all development works forthwith and to pull down all the illegal development works within a delay of 30 days from the time of service of this notice. Due to the serious legal implications, the Municipal Council has sought legal advice regarding non-compliance to the condition of the BLUP. Enforcement notice issued among others. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the parliamentary question B117A, I wish to inform the House that the CEB, which was consulted on the matter, confirms that there was no tripping or disturbance on the feeder supplying the Tribeca region, and no fault pertaining to the electricity supply on that area was recently reported to the CEB Sales Call Center. Moreover, during the inspection held on 23rd July 2026, the promoter clarified that the electricity was not supplied by the CEB network, but through generators. The outside operations and equipment of the fair were connected to the main generator, and the food outlet were connected to the secondary generator. He further added that the incident occurred for approximately 3 minutes due to the defective sensor. However, the operators provided prompt assistance to the visitors, and the problem was quickly resolved. The inspectors of the Municipal Council did observe 2 generators on site, adjacent to a tower right, along with their service area, including their associated equipment as well as fire extinguisher. This area is properly enclosed with a metal fence. An ambulance belonging to St. John's was also observed on site, further to which the director clarified that that same is provided by the company during the activities to ensure immediate assistance and safety of the visitors. I wish to highlight that following the incident at the Tribeca Mall Fun Park on 18 July 2026, the Police Department Western Division Rosil was also consulted and informed that no complaints has been reported. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of Parliamentary Question B1187, the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service apprised that, pursuant to Section 19 of the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service Act 2013, all premises to which the public has access are required to hold a valid fire certificate to ensure compliance with the prescribed fire safety regulations. With regard to the amusement park located at Tribeca.
Okay, with regard to Part B of the other question, you can file it because the mover of the question is not in attendance. Let's move. Mr. Honorable Juman, you have.
But we have some more information.
Yeah, but you have been talking for nearly 7 minutes. You can't,
but
your reply has to be within
but
the
it is important because
yes.
It is important.
Everything is important in this house. I don't like the word important. Every question, every answer is important.
Okay.
So there is no question which is more important than the other one.
Okay, Mr. Deputy.
Yes, come on.
Merci, Monsieur le Vice-président. D'abord, je tiens à saluer l'initiative de la compagnie qui a investi dans le projet de parc d'attraction, contribuant ainsi à la diversification du loisir de notre pays. Mais la sécurité demeure primordiale. Monsieur le ministre, vous avez dit que le 3, à partir du 3 juillet, les inspecteurs de la municipalité de Quatre-Bonnes ont su qu'il y a un problème là-bas avec des infrastructures installées. Ils ne sont pas aux normes d'après les permis qu'ils ont eus. Mais pourquoi avoir attendu une question parlementaire pour demander l'arrêt des opérations?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in the condition that has been given in that BLUP, in clause 13, I will table all the conditions. You will notice that in clause 16, that the promoter has to inform the municipal council before starting the business, where he has failed to do so. This is why we have, as soon as we have see the starting the operation of this amusement ride, so we have gone on the site on 23rd.
Yes.
Merci, Monsieur le Vice-président. D'après la réponse de l'honorable ministre, on n'a aucun officier dans aucun de nos ministères, de nos départements qui peut certifier ces équipements-là?
I have already replied in my I already replied. The MNI, even the Ministry of Labour, don't have the expertise to analyze, but they have said the promoter has to give a clearance from a registered engineer from the promoter itself.
Okay. The Honourable First Member for Vaca-Floreal.
B 1179.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the motorway M4 project consists of a dual carriageway of approximately 30 kilometers, extending from Fourbac on the M2 motorway to Bel Air. The route will bypass several villages, including Poutre d'Or, Hamlet, Rivière du Rempart, Plaine des Roches, L'Aventure, Pont-Blanc, Constance, Queen Victoria, and Clémentia. As the House is aware, following the state visit of the Honourable Prime Minister to India in September 2025, the Government of India generously extended a special economic package of 680 million USD to Mauritius. This package includes a line of credit of USD 432 million to be contracted in Indian rupees on concessional terms to finance, among others, the motorway M4 project. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that an umbrella line of credit agreement equivalent to USD 432 million for several projects, including the motorway M4 project, has been signed on 22nd July 2026 with the Exim Bank of India. Given that the projects under the SEP have different implementation phases and timelines, individual credit agreements will subsequently have to be signed for each project or a combination thereof, depending on their readiness for implementation and cost estimate after finalization of the detailed project report. Therefore, the actual annual repayment schedule in respect of the loan for the motorway M4 project, including the capital and interest components until full repayment, will be available only after the individual credit agreement for the project has been signed. Since the estimated cost of the motorway M4 project is currently approximately 10 billion rupees, the repayment schedule cannot be established on the basis of the estimated project costs. Same can only be determined upon the award of the contract, of the works contract, that is when the contract value is known. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as regard to part B of the question, I'm informed that as per the LOC agreement, payment to the contractor will be effected directly by the Exim Bank. The Exim Bank will pay to the contractor in Indian rupees after receipt of payment authorization from the government of Mauritius. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to further inform the House that the funds to the tune of 10 billion rupees under the special economic package have been earmarked exclusively for the implementation of the motorway M4 project. Therefore, these funds cannot be diverted or used for any other projects. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I see this opportunity to thank the Honourable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, and the Government of India for the invaluable financial assistance towards the implementation of the motorway M4 project. Without this support, the realization of this transformative project would not have been possible. This generous financial support reflects the strong bonds of friendship and cooperation that exist between our two countries and will contribute significantly to the development of Mauritius.
Yes, Honorable Member.
L'honorable ministre, peut-il confirmer s'il y a eu un appel d'offres à l'international pour le financement du projet en lui-même?
It is a G2G. We all know that when the Prime Minister went to India, I said in my answer that we get a special economic package and at concessional rate, interest rate, and part of that package is in terms of grants. So I don't think there is any other country that would have offered grants to Mauritius or a concessional rate. So this is part of it.
Yes.
Pour la partie dite construction, est-ce qu'il peut confirmer s'il y aura un appel d'offres international et si les contracteurs mauriciens pourront participer?
What I understand is that Exim Bank will be launching the bid in India. The technical evaluation will be done there, and then the financial evaluation will be done by the RDA in Mauritius. So all the bidding process will be done in India. Obviously, Mauritian firms, once we have an agreement, 75% Indian side and 25% Mauritian side, which means that 25% of that sum, which will be spent, they will buy material, they will use contractors, 25% will be Mauritian people, entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs will benefit from that project.
Just one last question.
Juste pour savoir si le ministre peut donner ce taux concessionnel qu'il vient de mentionner.
The rate of interest on the loan, as I said, we have, I think it's 5.3 per annum, payable semi-annually. And there is a grace period of 5 years. It's 2%, MCLR 2%, sorry, it's 2%.
The Honorable Second Member for Grand-Boutoulot.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, sir. B1180.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, government owns 3 properties in London. Firstly, the Chancery and staff apartments situated at Elvaston Place. Secondly, official residence of the High Commissioner at Braham Gardens, and thirdly, 1 residence at Wimbledon Park. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regards to part A of the question, the total expenditure incurred from 2015 to 2024 for the maintenance of the Mauritius High Commission in London, that is the Chancery building situated at Elvaston Place, is ₹9,640,800. I would also wish to point out that the building also houses residential apartments for home-based staff. As regards part B of the question, the total rent paid in favor of the former ambassador who was posted to London is 612,820 GBP, British pounds, which is approximately 38 million Mauritian rupees. But I wish also to point out that this figure does not include the rent paid for the period 2015 à 2016, because as per our mission, the record has gone missing. Now, I have to point out that in the current budget, provision have been made for the renovation of the residence of the High Commissioner. The renovation procedure has been initiated in October 2025 with the appointment of an evaluator. My ministries are waiting for the final report and scope of works for the evaluator before launching a tender exercise for the renovation works, for which there is budgetary provision of 9 million rupees that has been earmarked for this financial year. Thank you.
Yes, you have a supplementary.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, sir. In view of the public funds spent on the maintenance of the official residence and payment of rent, will the Honourable Minister confirm whether the former High Commissioner actually occupied the residence for the intended period? And if not, what justified the continued expenditure?
From my information, the High Commissioner was accommodated in a rented accommodation from the 26th of August 2015 to September 2016 for an amount of 5,611.67 British pounds monthly. Then afterwards he moved to the government-owned apartment from October 2016 to January 2019. Then in January 2019, apparently from the records, there was major water leaks and boiler issues, and therefore he moved out and he stayed in a rented apartment till the termination of his contract of employment, which is on the 19th of November 2024, and he was paying a monthly rent of 7,367.67 British pounds, which is approximately ₹500,000 monthly. Well, but it is quite surprising, Mr. the Deputy Speaker, so that for 5 years they couldn't find a contractor to remedy the problems that they were having.
You have a last question?
Yes, one last. Thank you, Deputy Speaker, sir. Will the Honourable Minister inform the House the name of the former High Commissioner of Mauritius in UK, and also following the departure of the former High Commissioner from the official residence, has the landlord submitted any claim, whether for damages, outstanding obligation, or compensation against the government of Mauritius? And if so, what is the status of such claim? Thank you.
The name of the former ambassador is Mr. Nunku, and apparently the landlord has retained approximately 534,000 rupees for damages that have been caused rupee. Wait, damages.
Thank you. The Honourable Third Member for Port Reforms, Port Island.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B1181, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to refer the Honourable Member to my reply to Parliamentary Question B196 of the sitting of 18 March 2025, wherein I explained that the Road Development Authority is responsible for the construction of road infrastructure, including the installation of street lighting networks as part of the new road projects, and upon completion of a project and its handover by the contractor, the street lighting network is vested in the respective local authorities. Consequently, responsibility for the payment of electricity bills for the street lighting network rests with the respective local authority. However, it is to be highlighted that during the defects liability period, which is generally for a period of 2 years, the contractor remains responsible for the maintenance of the street lighting installation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A, B and C of the question, out of the 10 projects undertaken by the RDA in the last 5 years, all projects have already been handed over to the respective local authorities, except for the following 3 projects. First, construction of a flyover on motorway M1 at La Visie. The start date of the project was 1st January 2024 and was completed on 1st April 2025. The electrified street lighting network found along M1 is already under CB's purview. However, the solar street lightings along slip lanes would be handed over after the completion of the defects liability period in April 2027. Second, upgrading of Rochebois footbridge across motorway M2. The project started on 6 February 2025 and was completed on 10 October 2025. I'm informed that street lighting systems came into operation in December 2025, and the handing over to the local authority will be effected after the defect stability period by 10 October 2026. And third, construction of Suivez interchange along motorway M1. The project started on 6 April 2018 and was completed on 21st July 2022. I'm informed by the RDA that the handing over exercise was delayed in view of the completion of the necessary contractual and technical requirements by the contractor, including responsibility for reinstatement works. These have been completed and the as-built drawings were eventually submitted by the contractor in August 2025 and were thereafter forwarded to the respective local authorities. However, the handing over of the street lighting system was further delayed due to repeated theft of electric cables along A1 M1 Link Road, and more recently during a site visit carried out in June 2026, which revealed additional instances of cable theft. The handing over of the street lighting system to the local authorities is now expected to be done in September 2026.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. 1182.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would like to thank the honourable member for following up on this matter further to the question she raised exactly 1 year ago through PQB 753 regarding the backlog of cases before the Motor Vehicle Insurance Arbitration Committee, in short MVAC. I wish to remind the House that MVAC has been established as a quasi-judicial administrative body under the Road Traffic Act to determine disputes arising between two insurers or between a policyholder and an insurer regarding their respective liability on the amount of compensation to be paid following a road accident not involving bodily injuries. The MVAC sits in 4 divisions, each presided over by a chairperson or one or of the 3 vice chairpersons. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am pleased to inform the House that all the 1,635 cases which were pending before the MVAC for the period 2019 to end 2024, that is prior to the general elections of 2024, have now been heard and determined by the newly reconstituted committee, which has been in office since April 2025. I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate the chairperson, the 3 vice chairpersons and their respective teams for this remarkable achievement and their dedication in addressing the long-standing backlog. To end, Deputy Speaker, sir, since 19 July 2025 and up to 25th July 2026, that is over the period of 1 year, the MVAC has held 147 sittings, during which 2,126 applications have been considered. Of these, 1,446 applications have been determined, reflecting the committee's sustained efforts to process applications efficiently and make significant progress in reducing the backlog. Thank you.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. J'ai pris bonne note que le backlog des dossiers antérieurs à 2024 a été entièrement résorbé. Would the Minister inform the House what measures have been introduced by the newly reconstituted committee to ensure that such a backlog does not recur? Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Well, I'm told that the committee meets every week, back to back, with the 4 divisions in order to have achieved that good progress, and they are adopting that same pace of work going forward. So hoping that if ceteris paribus, meaning everything else remains the same, the current backlog would be cleared by end of 2027. But demands keep coming in. There's a rolling stock, but they are doing their best.
B1183. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that there are a total of 420 government and grant-aided primary and secondary schools as follows: 219 government primary schools, 53 grant-aided primary schools, 66 state secondary schools, including 6 MGI-RTI schools and 82 grant-aided secondary schools. With regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed that the number of students enrolled in these schools are 61,093 in government primary schools, 17,098 in grant-aided primary schools, 37,358 in state secondary schools, including MGI-RTI schools, 42,218 grant-aided secondary schools, including PSEA, MEDCO, and REDCO. As regards to the staffing position, I'm informed that there are 4,880 teaching staff, 1,898 non-teaching staff in government primary schools, 1,193 teaching staff, and 538 non-teaching staff in grant-aided primary schools, 5,279 teaching staff, and 2,061 non-teaching staff in state secondary schools, including 6 MGI-RTI schools, 4,821 teaching staff, and 2,256 non-teaching staff in the grant-aided secondary schools. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, the House would appreciate that it will take some more time to compile the information requested by the Honourable Member. This information is currently being compiled by the officials of my ministry, and same will be placed in the Library of the National Assembly as soon as the compilation is completed. Thank you.
Deputy Speaker, sir. Can the Minister inform the House the fact that unions and managers heavily criticize the Private Secondary Education Authority, PSEA, for retroactively declaring legitimate operational expenses as disallowed after funds are spent, creating immense financial instability? What will be done in such cases? Yes?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I can't see how this question is related to the number of schools.
So you don't have an answer?
The question is not related to this.
Okay, you don't have an answer. Thank you. Question B1184 have been withdrawn. So we go to Honourable First Member for Waqf-Loyal.
B1185, s'il vous plaît.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A of the question, Mr. Sivanarayan Kunjal has been appointed as Chairperson of the Board of the Road Development Authority in accordance with Section 7.3 of the Road Development Authority Act for a period of 2 years with effect from 23rd December 2024 on a part-time basis. He is eligible to an all-inclusive monthly allowance of 75,000 rupees as approved by government. Madam Speaker, with regard to Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, I'm informed that the Chairperson is provided with transport facilities by the RDA as and when required to enable him to effectively discharge his roles and responsibilities, that is for official purposes, and to attend board meetings.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Est-ce que l'honorable ministre peut nommer un autre part-time chairperson de corps paritatique tombant sous son ministère qui bénéficie d'un véhicule avec chauffeur qui lui est dédié pour ses besoins personnels?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I know in the parastatal bodies in my ministry. Anyway, we wrote to the Secretary of Public Service and we got the reply on 18 February, whereby the Secretary of Public Service informed the ministry that RDA may consider providing alternative transport facilities as and when required to the chairperson to enable him to effectively discharge his roles and responsibilities.
The Honourable for... Okay.
Je me réfère à l'affirmation faite par le ministre comme quoi il est possible de procurer un véhicule pour discharge his responsibilities. L'honorable ministre peut-il informer la Chambre de quelle responsabilité le chairperson de la RDA s'acquitte-t-il lorsqu'il est à sa résidence pendant le week-end ou après les heures de travail, après 22 heures, et s'il peut table le logbook?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I don't have the information that the honourable member has. What I know that the chairperson, anyway, Road Development Authority, we have many site visits, and I know that the chairperson is undertaking his duty, his job as chairperson. He makes many site visits, so obviously I don't think a chairperson with will travel in bus to go to visit the roads, the broken roads, or any project that we are inaugurating. He will come in a bus to do that.
I can't answer for him. The Honourable Fourth Member for Rodrigue.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B1186.
Control his answer. Yes, I've already called the next question.
Mr. Deputy
Come
Speaker.
back with a substantive question for the logbook if you want. Yes.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, gives me an opportunity to highlight a showcase in the making. At the outset, I wish to inform the House that the Ministry fully supports the Organic Transition 2030 initiative being implemented by the Rodrigue Regional Assembly, which aims to progressively transform Rodrigue into an ecological island through organic and sustainable agricultural practices. I wish to inform the House further that the Ministry continues to collaborate with Rodrigue's Regional Assembly within our respective mandate to create an enabling national framework for organic agriculture. I am informed by the Commission for Agriculture of the Rodrigue Regional Assembly that in May 2023, a project entitled Supporting Organic Farming for Crop and Livestock and Improving Water Irrigation System in the island of Rodrigue was initiated in collaboration with the Centre de Coopération Internationale en Recherche Agronomique pour le Développement, CIRAD, a French public entity involved in agricultural research. The final report, submitted in January 2025, provides a strategic roadmap for the transition of Rodrigue's agricultural sector towards organic production while addressing sustainable water management. I am further informed that following the report, the Rodrigue Regional Assembly started implementing several measures, including a biofarming scheme, providing biofertilizers and biopesticides, farmer training on sustainable production, conservation of local seeds, integrated pest and disease management, and support to crop producers. In parallel, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the Ministry is finalizing the Organic Agricultural Bill, which is currently being fine-tuned at the Attorney General's office. The bill, which reflects internationally recognized principles of organic agriculture, will establish a comprehensive legal framework for the production, processing, certification, labeling, and marketing of organic products in the Republic of Mauritius. Through the newly established National Organic Office, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Ministry will collaborate with stakeholders, including Rodrigue's Regional Assembly, to develop a certified organic supply chain covering production, certification, processing, packaging, storage, marketing, and value addition. Support will be provided to producers and operators to comply with organic standards, strengthen traceability, protect the integrity of organic products, and improve access to domestic, tourism, and export markets. Through the Food and Agricultural Research Extension Institute, the Ministry is currently implementing research, extension, demonstration, and capacity building program in collaboration with Rodrigue Regional Assembly. Training will be provided to officers and farmers to strengthen organic production practices, promote the efficient use of organic resources, improve soil fertility, and enhance resilience to climate variability. The successful implementation of the Organic Transition 2030 initiative requires coordinated action involving government, the Rodrigue Regional Assembly, farmers, private sector, and development partners. The Ministry remains strongly committed to support Rodrigues in achieving its vision of becoming a model ecological island while enhancing food security, protecting biodiversity, and creating sustainable opportunities for resilient value chain.
Yes, Honorable Edouard.
Yes, I thank the Honourable Minister for his reply. May I ask the Minister about certification? Will there be a unified organic certification framework extended directly to Rodrigues to ensure local smallholders can access and afford certified labels?
Well, your valuable suggestion, of course, will be taken on board, but as far as I know, it's being done.
The Honourable Third Member for Vieux-Grand-Pont and Rosebel.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. PQB 1188, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, following extensive stakeholders consultation and international guidance, my ministry prepared the Private Recruitment Agencies Regulation 2025, which came into operation on the 6th October 2025. The regulation was developed having regard to International Labour Organization general principle and operational guidelines for fair recruitment and the International Organization for Migration International Recruitment Integrity System, IRIS, with a view to strengthening safeguard for workers, reducing the risk of exploitative recruitment, debt bondage, and forced labor, and ensuring ethical recruitment in line with internationally recognized standards. According to Section 4 of the Private Recruitment Agency Act 2023, no person shall recruit a worker or carry out recruitment activities unless licensed as a private recruitment agency. On 18th of March 2026, my ministry issued guidelines for employers recruiting a non-citizen worker on the website of my ministry, which provide that employers should, as a general rule, recruit non-citizen workers through a duly licensed private recruitment agency, whilst direct recruitment will only be authorized in exceptional circumstances by the Permanent Secretary. The guidelines also provide the relevant procedure to follow, as well as the compliance requirement for direct recruitment in exceptional circumstances. A further communiqué was issued by my ministry on 6th of May 2026, informing employers that the recruitment of non-citizen workers should henceforth be carried out through duly licensed private recruitment agency, unless otherwise authorized by the Permanent Secretary in exceptional circumstances. Accordingly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, it is now mandatory as a general rule for employers wishing to recruit foreign workers to engage the services of a duly licensed private recruitment agency unless the Permanent Secretary of my ministry authorizes them to recruit directly. The requirement to use licensed recruitment agency is central to our commitment to fair, transparent, and ethical recruitment practices to protect migrant workers from exploitation. Firstly, it ensures that recruitment activities are undertaken only by persons who have been duly licensed by the ministry and who remain subject to statutory obligation, monitoring, and enforcement. Secondly, licensed agencies are required to comply with prescribed legal obligations relating to ethical recruitment, transparency, due diligence, contractual requirements, and proper record keeping. Thirdly, it strengthens government's oversight over the entire recruitment chain from the country of origin to employment in Mauritius, thereby reducing opportunities for illegal recruitment, human trafficking, and forced labor. Fourthly, it gives practical effect to the employer pays principle by ensuring that recruitment fees and related costs are borne by employers and not migrant workers, thereby reducing the risk of debt bondage and exploitation. Finally, it promotes greater accountability among all parties involved in the recruitment process and contributes to the safeguarding the dignity, rights, and welfare of migrant workers while ensuring that employers recruit workers through lawful, transparent, and ethical procedure. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have to report that ever since that this requirement to recruit for a recruitment agency has been made compulsory, we have received at the level of the ministry many representation from many employers who wanted to be able to continue recruiting directly. Accordingly, the permanent secretary in my ministry is considering allowing direct recruitment in the following cases: where the identity of the individual is material. For example, jockeys, priests, sportspersons, and certain employees of religious association. In that case, you don't need to go through a recruitment agent. Where there is specialized recruitment, for example, a hospital recruiting a medical specialist or a bank recruiting a highly specialized executive. And the first category is intra-group transfers, where a Mauritian employer has employees within the same group from another country. They can ask for these employees to be transferred to Mauritius without going through recruitment agencies.
Okay. You have one supplementary, yes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In relation to the numerous applications which had been made and which were pending at the ministry prior to the coming into force of the regulation in l'été, c'est-à-dire prior to May 2026, est-ce que le ministre serait disposé de considérer la possibilité de dispenser ces applications de ce règlement, c'est-à-dire d'avoir recours à un private recruitment agency?
In fact, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, for all applications received before May 2026, we have already allowed direct recruitment. But for those applications received after May 2026, we are also considering on a case-by-case basis for the PS to exercise its discretion to allow direct recruitment.
The Honourable Third Member for Culture Media Moka.
B1189, please. Monsieur le Vice-président, la CWM informe que le contrat de renouvellement des tuyaux dans la région de Saint-Julien-d'Ottemont a été attribué à Quality Builders Company Limited le 23 octobre 2023 pour un montant de 76 846 000. Les travaux ont débuté le 18 décembre 2023 et devaient s'achever le 12 avril 2025. Le long de la route Higginson B24, le projet prévoit la pose de 2 tuyaux de chaque côté de la route sur une longueur de 2,56 km. La totalité des 5,6 km a été posée d'un côté de la route, tandis que 2,2 km ont été posés de l'autre côté. De plus, 1 km de tuyaux de posés de chaque côté de la route, soit 2 km, a été mis en service et remis en état de façon permanente. L'asphaltage a été réalisé dans le cadre d'un contrat distinct conclu à Bimanic Stone Crusher Limited le 3 novembre 2025. Il reste encore sur la route de B24, il reste encore des travaux à faire, par exemple le remplacement des tuyaux. Et il faudra poser 300 mètres de tuyaux. Il faudra aussi faire les essais de pression dans les tuyaux sur 5 km. Il y aura des travaux de raccordement pour les domestiques, fixation des selles, fixation des accessoires. Monsieur le Vice-président, en 2025, alors qu'une enquête était en cours auprès de l'entrepreneur par la FCC, la CWA a suspendu les paiements et l'entrepreneur a quitté le chantier en juillet 2025. En février 2026, cette année-ci, la FCC a informé la CWA de la conclusion de son enquête. Un paiement partiel a donc été effectué et l'entrepreneur a repris ses activités sur le chantier le 20 avril 2026 de cette année-ci, effectuant à nouveau des raccordements. Monsieur le Vice-président, la CWA m'informe que lors de l'exécution des travaux, il a été constaté, encore une fois, que l'entrepreneur n'avait pas procédé à la remise en état provisoire de la route après les travaux d'excavation. Malgré plusieurs injonctions de la CWA, lui demanda de renforcer les effectifs sur ce chantier parce qu'on a pas mal de complaintes des députés de l'endroit. L'entrepreneur a refusé d'y s'y conformer. Aucun travail supplémentaire de pose de tuyaux n'a été réalisé depuis la reprise des travaux en avril 2026. Donc, le chemin est en un état terrible. L'entrepreneur, donc, Allied Builders, ouais. Quality Builders, attendez qu'il soit payé pour poursuivre les travaux. Le 4 juin 2026, l'entrepreneur a signifié une mise en demeure à la CWA, invoquant du non-paiement des sommes certifiées et indiquant son intention d'engager des poursuites judiciaires et de suspendre les travaux jusqu'au règlement. L'entrepreneur a cessé toute activité sur le chantier, monsieur le député, depuis le 26 juin 2026. Compte tenu des dangers pressants sur le site et l'absence d'une réponse de l'entrepreneur Quality Builders Company Limited, la CWA a chargé Bimanic Stone Crusher Limited de réaliser des travaux de remise en état provisoire de ces chemins. Ces travaux ont été achevés le 14 juillet 2026. Monsieur le vice-président, suite à la certification par la CWA que les travaux ont été réalisés à sa satisfaction, et la CWA fera le nécessaire pour payer le contracteur, mais l'entrepreneur devra soumettre un nouveau calendrier pour achever les travaux.
Yes,
Si les travaux de pose des tuyaux ont été complétés,
Non,
la
pas
pose
encore.
des tuyaux.
Non, il reste encore de 3 km où je suis un peu perdu dans mes papiers, mais 2 ou 3 km de tuyaux restent encore à être posés et des raccordements domestiques individuels restent à faire. Donc c'est pour cette raison que jusqu'ici, sur les 76 millions de roupies, nous avons payé 28 millions de roupies. Donc on va essayer de terminer ce projet-là à 46 millions de roupies. Moins de 76 millions parce que nous avons dû payer Bimanic Stone pour l'asphaltage.
Yes.
Peut-on savoir quand le projet va être réalisé complètement?
On attend d'abord le nouveau calendrier de l'entrepreneur. Hein. Dès que nous recevrons ce calendrier-là, nous allons payer la somme de 1,4 million de roupies pour pouvoir continuer le travail. Et je suppose quelques kilomètres de tuyaux, disons 2 mois, on peut s'arranger pour que 2 mois le travail soit fait et l'asphaltage aussi.
The Honourable Third Member for Port with North and Motalong.
B1190.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that Valley Community Health Center is situated on the ground floor of a multi-purpose complex owned by the municipality of Port Louis, which also accommodates other public services, including a post office. The CHC has a dedicated waiting area with a seating capacity for 55 persons. The area is adequately ventilated through functional windows, fans, and air conditioning system. In addition, 3 units of 5-seater bucket chairs have been recently fixed in the adjoining covered veranda to enhance patient comfort during these peak attendance periods. Blood collection services at Valley Community Health Center are conducted every Tuesday and Wednesday from 6:45 a.m. to 8 a.m. prior to the commencement of medical consultation sessions. However, the blood collection sessions may extend beyond 8 a.m., particularly when a significant number of patients arrive at or after 7:30 a.m. On average, 80 patients attend each blood collection session, while some 50 to 60 patients attend the CHC for general consultations and at the primary health care services on a daily basis. The average waiting time for patients attending the CHC is approximately 10 to 25 minutes. Temporary congestion occurs in the waiting area when the arrival of other patients attending the CHC or medical consultations and dressing services overlap with those who are already at the CHC for blood collection. To address this issue, arrangement has been made to deploy a healthcare assistant during blood collection sessions in order to improve patient flow and ensure that blood collection activities are completed before the commencement of the medical consultation sessions. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, accordingly, while the existing waiting area is adequate in terms of ventilation and functionality, operational measures are being implemented to improve patient flow and accommodate patients attending for blood collection more efficiently.
Yes, Honourable Member, the table has been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn. B1151, 1204, 1196, 1194, 1152, 1198, 1206, 1205, 1191, 1197, 1207. We won't have time for another question. Time is over. Madam Speaker will take the chair.
Please be seated. I'm very happy to see you're in a good mood. Yes. Motion.
Madam Speaker, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Yes. It is seconded, of course, by the DPM. The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Statements by ministers, non-public bills, first reading.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Finance Bill number 12 of 2026 be read the first time.
Yes, it is seconded. Thank you. Yes, the next bill.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Economic and Financial Measures Miscellaneous Provisions Bill number 13 of 2026 be read the first time.
Seconded. Thank you.
Public bill, second reading.
Yes, Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Madam Speaker, with your permission, I move that the Finance Bill number 12 of 2026 and the Economic and Financial Measures Miscellaneous Provisions Bill number 13 of 2026 be read a second time and considered together. Madam Speaker, we're not here today to reopen the debate on the measures announced in the budget speech and its annex. These two bills simply give legal effect to the measures that have already been debated and approved by the National Assembly. These two bills, Madam Speaker, bring amendments to a total of 83 enactments relating to policies and measures announced in the budget speech of 2026-2027 and its annex, and for matters connected, consequential, or incidental thereto. Madam Speaker, I will start with amendments being brought under the Finance Bill of 2026. Clause 2 amends the Customs Act in order to tighten customs compliance and penalties by requiring full prepayment of duties and taxes before clearance and by enhancing risk-based controls on imports. This, Madam Speaker, will close loopholes, will reduce leakages and reinforce the integrity of our border tax regime. Clause 3 amends the Customs Tariff Act to clarify tariff administration and to adjust selected custom duties and exemptions in line with the measures announced in the budget. Through these adjustments, we support productive sectors ensure greater predictability for importers, and maintains coherence between tariff policy and our broader economic objectives. Clause 4 amends the Excise Act to extend an excise duty on all plastic bottles and to update excise measures on hard liquor, tobacco, sugar-sweetened products, and related duty-free facilities. This clause reflects our commitment to public health and environmental sustainability. Clause 5 amends the Finance and Audit Act to shorten timelines for financial reporting and audit and to align central government and public sector accounts with international public sector accounting standards. By doing so, we are improving the timeliness, the transparency and comparability of our public finances, which is essential for fiscal discipline and credibility. Clause 6 amends the Gambling Regulatory Authority Act to modernize the gambling framework for interactive and digital gaming and to strengthen governance, supervision, and responsible gambling. This clause brings our regulatory architecture in line with technological developments, while at the same time safeguarding vulnerable groups and reinforcing oversight of this sensitive sector. Clause 7 amends the Income Tax Act to rebalance the income tax structure and incentives, to implement technical changes related to the qualified domestic minimum top-up tax, and to adjust exemptions and tax holidays. Through these measures, Madam Speaker, we are maintaining our competitiveness within the evolving international tax landscape. Clause 8 amends the Inscription of Privileges and Mortgages Act to mandate the electronic registration of deeds by attorneys at law instead of only notaries. This modernization supports digitalization, improves efficiency, and reduces the scope for errors and delays in the registration process. Clause 9 amends the Land Duties and Taxes Act to maintain the competitiveness of real estate schemes while introducing a special levy and rationalization exemptions. The intention is to balance the attractiveness of Mauritius as an investment destination with a fair contribution to government revenue and overall development. Clause 10 amends the Mauritius Revenue Authority Act to first introduce a framework for compliance agreement, second, to authorize the MRA to share information on individuals and businesses involved in online commercial activities, including unregistered traders, with the Ministry of Commerce and Consumer Protection. 3, extend the application of provisions relating to stay of assessment in cases involving non-remission of tourist fees collected, where the matter is referred to a law enforcement agency for parallel investigation, and 4, to provide for flexibility in the registration of a tax agent. Clause 10, therefore, promotes a more collaborative approach between the tax administration and taxpayers while ensuring that intermediaries operate to the highest professional and ethical standards. Clause 11 amends the National Assembly Retiring Allowances Act to modernize the pension arrangements of members of Parliament, including the introduction of a new defined contribution scheme with appropriate grandfathering provisions. It preserves acquired rights while placing parliamentary pensions on a more sustainable and transparent footing for the future. Madam Speaker, as I've already stated, we have not abandoned the gist of the pension reform, except for the means test, which is out. We took note of the concerns and decided to discard the means test. Listening to people does not mean ignoring reality or denying the challenges we face. The demographic and fiscal pressures remain, and reform is therefore still necessary. That is our responsibility. The real choice before the country is not between reform and comfort. That choice does not exist. The real choice is between a controlled reform today or a brutal crisis tomorrow. Clause 12 amends the National Pensions Act to 1, support the transition from the basic retirement pension to the state age pension. Second, to adjust eligibility and residency rules. And 3, to set up a steering committee to advise on the establishment of a new pension regulatory framework. Madam Speaker, although I believe that the current provision is clear in regard to our policy intention regarding the increase in state age pension, after taking into consideration the cost of living, I will nevertheless bring an amendment at committee stage as per the amendment which I hope has been circulated to Section 3C in Clause 12 of the bill to remove any possible confusion or doubt in the mind of the public. Clause 13 amends the Pension Act to clarify the circumstances in which retirement requires presidential approval and to allow recovery of sums due to government when an officer exits the public service. Clause 14 amends the President's Emoluments and Pensions Act to recalibrate the pension of the President and Vice President and their surviving spouses net of any non-contributory state pensions. Clause 15 amends the Public Debt Management Act to strengthen reporting obligations and standards for public sector debt and fiscal risk. This, Madam Speaker, will improve quality, completeness, and timeliness of debt data, thereby reinforcing our capacity to manage public debt prudently and transparently. Clause 16 amends the registration duty to adjust registration duties, penalties, and remission powers, particularly in respect of first-time buyers and land surveyor reports. It refines our regime to deter abuse, provides targeted relief where warranted, and provides the Minister of Finance with a structured mechanism to address technical and administrative cases. Clause 17 amends the Revenue Tribunal Act to standardize the amount payable on tax and customs appeals lodged with the Revenue Tribunal. This, Madam Speaker, promotes consistency, predictability, and fairness in the appeals process for taxpayers. Clause 18 amends the Social Contribution and Social Benefits Act to provide for the payment of retirement, benefit, or disability allowances due but unpaid at the time of the beneficiary's death to the spouse or legal heirs of the deceased. Clause 19 amends the schedule on the Social Integration and Empowerment Act to increase the monthly income threshold to be eligible for beneficiaries under the Social Register of Mauritius with effect from the 1st of July 2026. Clause 20 amends the State Lands Act to remove the deferment facilities granted to industrial site leases during the COVID-19 pandemic with effect from the 1st of July 2027 in order to strengthen government revenue mobilization while allowing stakeholders sufficient time to settle outstanding amounts. Clause 21 amends the Statistics Act to recognize public sector debt statistics as official statistics, thereby enhancing the credibility and the transparency of public debt reporting while providing greater operational flexibility to Statistics Mauritius in the collection and dissemination of statistical information. Clause 22 amends the Statutory Bodies Accounts and Audit Act to require that at least 25% of the members of every board should be women and to bring the real estate agent authority under the scope of the Act. Clause 23 amends the Statutory Bodies Pension Funds, the Act to clarify the benefits payable to officers leaving a statutory body, allow the recovery of outstanding amounts owed by an officer to government or a statutory body before any refund is made, and include the real estate agent authority in the first schedule to enable it to establish a pension fund for its employees. Clause 24 amends the Transcription and Mortgage Act to require attorneys at law to submit registration documents electronically through the Registrar General's online system and increases the fees for searches on the immovable property database. Clause 25 introduces several amendments to the Value-Added Tax Act to modernize the VAT framework, strengthen tax administration, and improve compliance. The amendments provide for charging of VAT on the commission received by foreign operators of online marketplaces and enforcement measures, revise VAT obligations for digital service providers, introduce a 5% insurance premium tax on short-term general insurance from the 1st of January 2027, and clarify VAT treatment for various sectors and transactions. They also include measures to facilitate invoicing compliance, improve recovery and reporting procedures, align VAT provisions with international standards, and extend exemptions or zero rating on selected goods and services. Clause 27 validates the resolution passed by the National Assembly on the 19th of June 2026 relating to the increase in excise duty rates on hard liquor, tobacco products, and sugar-sweetened products. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the Economic and Financial Measures Miscellaneous Provisions Bill of 2026. This bill introduces amendments across a wide range of legislations to secure financial stability, enhance governance, and support our economic and social priorities. Clause 2 amends the Bank of Mauritius Act to first enable government to issue longer-term bonds of up to 30 years in line with our strategy to lengthen debt maturity and reduce risk. 2, to establish a cyber threat intelligence sharing platform for the financial sector. 3, to provide for the Minister of Finance, after consultation with the Governor of the Bank of Mauritius, to transfer funds to the Bank of Mauritius to increase its paid-up capital. And 4, to upgrade the qualification requirements of the chairperson of the Banking Services Review Panel. Clause 3 amends Section 64 of the Banking Act to ensure that bank secrecy cannot be used to block access to customer information needed for investigations under the Financial Crimes Commission Act or under the UN Sanctions Law. It clarifies the process, Madam Speaker, for disclosure orders, extends disclosure beyond money laundering to a broader range of financial crimes, and confirms that these disclosures and reporting obligations override the statutory duty of compliance, but it has to follow due process, while also fixing a drafting cross-reference. Clause 4 amends the Business Registration Act to allow a business to displace business registration in any format and at its principal place of business. Clause 5 amends the Captive Insurance Act to empower the Financial Services Commission to extend on application and for valid reasons the time limits for regulatory returns and filing by captive insurance. Clause 6 amends the Civil Service Family Protection Scheme Act to improve representation on the board and thereby strengthen its governance. Clause 7 amends the Civil Status Act to allow a non-citizen married to a Mauritian outside Mauritius to either submit an official document from a competent authority attesting marital status when applying for a temporary residence permit, or provide an affidavit sold before the Supreme Court of Mauritius. This is consequential to the amendments of the Immigration Act. Clause 8 amends the Clinical Trials Act to provide for expanded electronic processes, fast-track committees, clinical trials in public hospitals, clearer licensing and investigator accreditation, and liability protections. The aim is to refine the clinical trials framework and bring it in line with the international best practices. Clause 9 amends the Code Civil Mauricien to remove the obligation for a seller of a motor vehicle to remit a certificat de gage sans déplacement, where the registration is initiated through the Registrar General's online portal. This amendment therefore cuts one administrative step, reduces paperwork, and the need to queue up at multiple counters and speed up online registration of second-hand vehicles. Clause 10 amends the Companies Act to strengthen beneficial ownership transparency, extend name reservation periods, adjust various technical provisions, and facilitate adoption of sustainability reporting standards. Clause 11 amends the Competition Act to reinforce the framework for market inquiries by empowering the Competition Commission to issue directions, extend undertakings, and appeal rights to such inquiries and enhance transparency and participation. Clause 12 amends the Cooperative Act
to modernize the regulatory framework, including updated definitions, minimum capital and eligibility requirements, stronger internal controls, risk-based supervision, and clearer rules for dormant societies and fees. Clause 13 amends the Courts Act to broaden the category of forensic reports admissible in evidence without requiring the attendance of the scientific officer unless the court considers the officer's attendance absolutely necessary. Clause 14 amends the Early Childhood Care and Education Authority Act to clarify that a pre-primary school is not limited to a school or to a unit located within the premises of a primary school. This amendment removes a long-lasting anomaly regarding pre-primary school sector. Clause 15 amends the Economic Development Board Act to introduce the Golden Visa and the AI City Scheme, to rationalize certain schemes and review occupation permit criteria. The amendment will enable the ADB to attract more productive investment and higher skills. Clause 16 amends the Energy Efficiency Act to establish a regulatory framework for energy performance contracting, strengthen the role of the Energy Efficiency Management Office, and increase penalties and regulatory powers to promote energy efficiency. This amendment is necessary to set a strong foundation for economic growth that will be led by the energy sector. Clause 17 amends the Environment Act to clarify the scope and coverage of environment protection fee relating to an enterprise engaged in stone crushing or the processing of aggregates, rock sand or basalt sand to avoid double payment of the environment protection fee. It also allows for the increase of fines or offenses relating to illegal dumping of waste and other materials, littering the public places and natural sites, non-compliance with an ISO abatement notice, and the unauthorized display of posters or defacement of designated site. This amendment, Madam Speaker, strengthens environmental sustainability by reinforcing deterrence against activities that harm our natural environment. Clause 18 amends the Financial Intelligence and Anti-Money Laundering Act to expand the definition of credit unions to include societies under the Cooperatives Act, which provide financial services to their members. The amendment also removes the limitation on the power of the Financial Services Commission to sanction financial institutions for non-compliance with the AML-CFT requirements. The same amendment excludes low-risk third-party administrators from the AML-CFT obligations. Clause 19 amends the Financial Reporting Act to introduce sustainability reporting standards and provide for the enforcement by the Financial Reporting Council. Clause 20 amends the Financial Services Act to establish a National FinTech Governance Committee, strengthen the FSC's supervisory and enforcement powers, including conservatorship and advertising controls, and introduce a private wealth management license. Together, Madam Speaker, clauses 18 to 20 strengthen Mauritius' reputation as a clean, transparent, and forward-looking financial sector. Clause 21 amends the Food and Agricultural Research and Extension Institute Act, first to introduce definitions of food security and national food security strategy, two, to broaden the objectives of the Food and Agricultural Research and Extension Institute by designating it as a national authority responsible for planning, coordinating, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating food security programs, and for leading the implementation of national food security, food sovereignty, and food self-sufficiency targets. Third, preparation of annual food security reports. And fourth, to empower FARI to establish interinstitutional committees, require relevant ministries, institutions, and agencies to submit information required to monitor food security targets, to appoint food security experts on a contractual basis, and to facilitate public-private ventures and contract farming. Clause 22 amends the Foundations Act to clarify which charitable foundations are subject to AML CFT inspections and to require dates of birth in beneficial ownership registers. Clause 23 amends the Freeport Act to remove the prescribed time limit on private Freeport developers for warehousing authorization. Clause 24 amends the Higher Education Act to strengthen quality assurance, including for micro-credentials and foundation programs, and to clarify the role and funding functions of the Higher Education Commission. Clause 25 amends the Immigration Act to modernize occupational permits, align with ADB reforms, introduce prescribed fees and documentation for spouses, and establish a digital travel authorization regime. This amendment, Madam Speaker, represents an important step towards a more modern, predictable, and secure immigration framework at a time when demographic growth is negative with a consequential decline in our labor force. Madam Speaker, importantly, in Clause 25, I am removing the discretionary power of the minister to whom the responsibility for the subject of home affairs is assigned. That is, in our case, the Prime Minister himself, to cancel the visa of a non-citizen in the public interest. That discretionary power is being removed completely. As a result, such decision will henceforth be based on rules rather than on discretion. Clause 726 amends the Industrial Property Act to give effect to the Harare Protocol on ARIPO titles and to align the institutional framework accordingly. Clause 27 amends the International Financial Organizations Act to update references and governance provisions relating to the Bretton Woods and related institutions and to repeal obsolete schedules. Clause 28 amends the Irrigation Authority Act to allow authorized officers to enter specified lands within irrigation areas to verify compliance with land use conditions. Clause 29 amends the Jewelry Act to extend the assay officer's supervisory remit over dealers in precious metals and stones for AML CFT purposes, allow sanctions for non-compliance, and lengthen record-keeping periods. Clause 30 amends the Land Drainage Authority Act to enhance coordination between the Land Drainage Authority and the National Development Unit, provide for fees and charges to be levied, and improve governance on drainage projects. This amendment will facilitate the timely implementation of land drainage projects, strengthen flood mitigation efforts, and provide better protection to families, communities, and businesses affected by recurrent flooding. Clause 31 amends the Law Officers Act to update provisions following institutional changes and to clarify the circumstances in which a law officer and state attorney may appear on behalf of entities in which the state has interest. Clause 32 amends the Limited Liability Partnership Act and Clause 33, the Limited Partnership Act, to extend name reservation periods, raise the turnover threshold for small partnerships, and requires dates of birth in beneficial ownership registers. Clause 34 amends the Mauritius Agricultural Marketing Act to increase applicable fines and imprisonment terms, thereby strengthening enforcement. Clause 35, again, Madam Speaker, it amends the Mauritius Citizenship Act to remove the discretionary powers of the Prime Minister and Minister of Home Affairs to deprive citizenship without reasons and to make the regime more rule-based. This is to address the infamous Hoffman Law, which was passed specifically for one person. Clause 36 amends the Mauritius Institute of Training and Development Act to add a representative of the Ministry of Tourism to the board and increase the quorum. Clause 37 amends the Mauritius Qualifications Authority Act to provide for the registration and deregistration of trainers and to strengthen the national qualifications framework. Clause 38 amends the Morcellement Act to remove certain requirements relating to association foncière and green forest and to provide transitional arrangements. Clause 39 repeals the National Environment Cleaning Authority Act to wind up that authority. Thus, only Mori Facilities Management Company Limited will operate in that sector, avoiding duplication and suboptimal use of resources. The detailed transitional provisions for staff assets, liabilities, and acts of NECA are being addressed at Clause 60. Clause 40 amends the National Land Transport Authority Act to review the licensing board's framework, introduce structured procedures and rights of appeal for license applications, and reinforce conflict of interest rules. Clause 41 amends the Non-Citizens Employment Restriction Act to create a student employment permit regime with associated procedures, offences and penalties for foreign students and employers who fail to comply with the new requirements. Clause 42 amends the Ports Act to require the Director of Shipping to verify vessels' compliance certificates before granting inwards clearance, thereby enhancing maritime safety and environmental protection. Clause 43 amends the Private Health Institutions Act to introduce a formal application and approval in principle process for the new or expanded private health institutions. Clause 44 amends the private pension scheme to provide that abandoned entitlements are transferred to the curator of vacant estates. Clause 45 amends the Public Health Act to introduce fixed penalty notices for unlawful waste disposal and storage that create public health risk. Clause 46 amends the Public Holidays Act so that when a public holiday falls on a Sunday, the following Monday is also a public holiday. Clause 47 amends the Public Procurement Act to allow direct procurement of specialized services from diaspora members under prescribed conditions. This will facilitate great engagement of the Mauritian diaspora and leveraging their expertise and international experience for national development. Clause 48 amends the Road Traffic Act to establish a traffic management and road safety unit, modernize vehicle registration procedures, expand regulation, making powers, and penalize excessive noise from altered silencers. Clause 49 amends the Small Farmers Welfare Fund Act to clarify key definitions and to increase the maximum number of cattle from 40 to 50 to qualify for support from the Small Farmers Welfare Fund. Clause 50 amends the Sugar Industry Efficiency Act to abolish the land conversion exception following the discontinuation of the integrated modern agricultural Morcel scheme. Clause 51 amends the Tourism Authority Act to regulate outdoor accommodation and motorized water sports, harmonize alcohol limits with what is prescribed under the Road Traffic Act, and enhance safety on pleasure crafts. Clause 52 amends the Trust Fund for Specialized Medical Care Act to broaden its functions and to perform the duties conferred to it under the Clinical Trials Act. Clause 53 amends the United Nations Financial Prohibitions, Arms Embargo, and Travel Ban sanctions, that is the Sanctions Act, to improve the functioning of the National Sanctions Committee and clarify procedures and third-party rights in relation to freezing and prohibition orders. Clause 54 amends the Variable Capital Companies Act to allow protected cell companies to convert into variable capital companies with legal continuity. The amendment allows a protected cell company to be converted into a variable capital company, thereby providing greater flexibility for investment structures, facilitating businesses, and ensuring continuity of existing legal rights, obligations, and operations during the conversion process. That is for the whole restructuring of the business. Clause 55 amends the Veterinary Council Act to revise the quorum requirement. Clause 56 amends the Virtual Asset and Initial Token Offering Services Act to tighten governance of virtual asset service providers, to prohibit unlicensed solicitation, and allow tax authorities to assess crypto asset information. Clause 57 amends the Waqf Act to ensure compliance with the Mauritius AML CFT CPF framework. Clause 58 amends the Waste Management and Resource Recovery Act to redefine the definition of waste carrier strengthen licensing and registration for waste transport and importation, and clarify responsibilities. Clause 59 amends the workers' right to introduce paid menstrual leave, extend maternity leave to 6 months, with, of course, an additional option, as we said, for another 6 months on half pay, and lengthen paternity leave. Finally, Madam Speaker, Clause 28 of the Finance Bill 2026 and Clause 61 under the Economic and Financial Measures, that is the Miscellaneous Provisions Bill, provide for the commencement of the various amendments under this bill, either on specified dates or by proclamation or on publication in the Government Gazette. Madam Speaker, an amendment will be made to Clause 61, Subclause 2 and Subclause 7 of the Economic and Financial Measures Miscellaneous Provisions Bill at committee stage to provide for the measure on the extension of the maternity leave and the paternity leave to be effective as from the 1st of January 2027 instead of the 1st of July 2026 to allow proper human resource planning. I would like to inform the House, Madam Speaker, that we will come with the required legislative and operational framework for the implementation of the digital e-visa system, parallel imports, and anti-abusing pricing practices. These measures require more time for preparation before implementation. Madam Speaker, to conclude, as I bring this second reading speech to a close, I reaffirm the unwavering commitment of this government to the vision set out in Budget 2026-2027. These bills give legislative effect to the reforms that are guided by the 4 principles that define our approach to nation building. That is responsabilité, solidarité, efficacité économique, et justice sociale. They are more than a collection of legislative amendments. Together, they provide the legal framework to restore fiscal sustainability, strengthen our institutions, modernize our economy, reinforce our social contract, and prepare Mauritius for the challenges of an increasingly uncertain world. The future, Madam Speaker, cannot be secured by postponing difficult decisions. It is built by having the courage to act today. Fiscal consolidation is not an end in itself. It is the means by which we restore the strength of the state, preserve confidence in our public financiers, and ensure that future generations inherit a country that is resilient, competitive, and able to protect the most vulnerable. As I said in the budget speech, the future depends on what we do in the present. These bills translate that conviction into action. They lay the foundation of a future-ready Mauritius. That is one that is fiscally responsible, economically stronger, socially fairer, and better equipped to seize the opportunities of tomorrow. The reforms, Madam Speaker, which are before this House, demand courage and perseverance. But they are reforms that are taken not for the next election, but for the next generations. With the confidence in our people and faith in our country's future, this government will continue to take the decisions that are necessary to secure lasting prosperity for all Mauritians. Madam Speaker, with these words, I now commend the bill to the House.
Thank you. Seconded by the Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you, Prime Minister. I have an announcement. Honourable members, now that the Prime Minister has made his speech on the second reading of both bills before the House, I have an announcement to make because I have taken time to ponder on the rules that concern such an important debate. The measures in the bills were already in the annex to the budget speech provided to members. Those measures provide for the implementation of what was already announced. Each bill has what is known as a long title which describes the object of the bill. For the finance bill, it is to provide for the implementation of measures announced in the budget speech 2026-2027 relating to taxation and national finance and for the matters connected, consequential, and incidental thereto. For the Economic and Financial Measures Miscellaneous Provisions Bill, it is to provide for the implementation of measures announced in the budget speech 2027 relating to economic and financial measures, and for the other miscellaneous economic, financial and related measures. During the ensuing debate, honourable members will be expected to refer to matters which are directly connected to the measures already announced and those which are consequential or incidental thereto only. Standing Order 42.1 clearly stipulates that debate must be relevant to the bill and the amendments brought. Honourable members will not be allowed to debate on policy matters which have already been the subject of full-fledged debates of the Appropriation 2026-2027 bills. Honourable members have to restrict their observations to the amendments of the legislation proposed in the two bills being debated and not to the main legislation being amended. Thank you. Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With your permission, Madam Speaker, I move for the adjournment of the debates.
Thank you. The question... The question is that debate be now adjourned. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Yes?
Madam Speaker, I move for the adjournment of the House to Friday, the 31st of August, 2026 at 3 p.m.
The question is that the House be adjourned to Friday, the 31st of July, 2026. Is there a problem? There's no problem. May I carry on? July, I said.
He said August. You heard wrong. He said August.
I heard wrong. Okay. I'm going to start again. Prime Minister, you did say Friday, the 31st of July. That is next Friday.
Next Friday,
Of course.
31st of July.
Yes.
3 p.m.
Okay. The question is that the House be adjourned to Friday, the 31st of July, 2026 at 3 p.m. Yes. Right? Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The House stands adjourned.